What up, people? I said, what up, people? Welcome to a impromptu edition of the Social Thoughts Mike Steph podcast featuring one and only Mike Steph, best in the world and what he does. Do you want to know why this is impromptu? Because I was able to get the majority of my thoughts on the topic at hand, which is potentially Bayley leaving WWE, but more importantly, the ridiculous, the piss poor booking that WWE does with their women's division, both on Raw and SmackDown. I'm only going to talk about the main roster because they have enough problems on the main roster. If you want me to get into NXT, oh man, listen, this would be a 2-hour podcast, which unfortunately I don't have time to do right now. I'm on the last day of my vacation, which was 10 days of relaxation, 10 days of exercise, 10 days of being with the family, 10 days of not working, more importantly. So I said, you know what? I don't feel like waiting until tonight to talk about Raw because I'll probably be disappointed again. And who knows? Maybe they'll give me some type of enough angst to actually go live and actually be a man of my word, be a man of respect, be a man of integrity. Even though I asked the masses, how many times do you want me to go live each week? 1, 2, or 3. And y'all responded in massive fashion. 2 votes to 1. 3. And how many times have I gone live since then? 1. But regardless, neither here nor there. But yeah, I'm here to talk about the piss poor booking decisions that WWE have done for the last couple months, centering around their women's division. I'm going to start most recently with this past Saturday night on Saturday night's main event, in which the newly turned heel Lyra Valkyria defeated the role model herself, Bayley. And it wasn't so much that she defeated Bayley, and I'm not even going to say that was the wrong choice. But in the manner in which she defeated Bayley, it makes you wonder. Definitely was an injury angle, but was it an injury angle for Bayley to return and get her revenge? Dare I say 2 weeks of SummerSlam? That seems kind of too close, right? Was it an injury angle in order for them to leave the book open until they come to a final decision on whether or not Bayley is going to re-up with the E, or is she going to go to, in this case, greener pastures elsewhere? Is it an injury angle designed to allow Lyra Valkyria to get off on the right foot, get off on a strong foot with her new character, you know, character being, how can I say this discreetly, a meth head, a zombie, a crackhead, uh, delusional? No, but I don't understand. One thing when it comes to this angle, one thing that comes with the storyline, before I really get into whether or not Bayley should leave WWE, I've said this last time I spoke about wrestling, and I'm going to say it again. Bayley and Lyra's storyline goes back almost a year and a half since WrestleMania 41, when Bayley and Lyra were scheduled to face Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Bayley got injured. Becky came on the scene, won the championship with Lyra. They lost them in immediate fashion the night after WrestleMania. Becky turned on Lyra, and then they had a couple of month feud over the women's Intercontinental Championship, in which ultimately Becky won and Lyra ended up not getting over. And I'm not going to say this was for lack of effort from Becky. It just didn't happen. During SummerSlam, during their ultimate match, in which the Intercontinental Championship was on the line, and if Lyra did not beat Becky, Lyra could not challenge for the Intercontinental title as long as Becky was champion. And guess who came into the fray? Guess who inadvertently, some would say, cost Lyra the championship? Bayley, because Bayley was trying to get her revenge on Becky as well. And then you fast forward a little bit, and then Lyra and Bayley decided to, reform the tag team. And at the very beginning, all of a sudden, it just seemed like they were trying to lead Bayley down the road of multiple personalities, talking to herself, living in the past, becoming unhinged, becoming schizophrenic. And Lyra was kind of standoffish, trying to figure out what was going on. Now you fast forward now to they broke up. Lyra finally snapped, and now we have Lyra being the one who went off the deep end. Lyra being the one that's crazed. Lyra being the one that looks like an extra from The Walking Dead. And Bayley being left laying after being choked out with the bulldog choke, a John Moxley specialty. Left laying and kicked out the ring unceremoniously with the dirt kicked on her. And Lyra leaves, and Bayley is left laying. And for this to be the final scene, the final picture, the final image in which they left the fans of Bayley laying in a broken heap, not even on her back, but just upside down. Boy, girl, you turn me inside out and round, upside down. I'm thinking that, yeah, this might be the way that Bayley was written out for the time being and maybe permanently. I believe Bayley would want it no other way if she was leaving out, which would be to put over one of her friends strong, put over a fellow wrestler on the roster strong, and to leave the roster, to leave the locker room a better place upon her exit than upon her entrance. But to me, Bayley is a microcosm of what hasn't happened with the women's division under the stewardship of Paul C.S. Levesque. That dude right there. Now, people such as myself, I've always proclaimed myself to be a Vince McMahon guy. I believe that, yes, Vince had a lot of flaws. I'm not talking about extracurricular. I'm not talking about his personal life, but he did have flaws when booking the product. But he always had a method to his madness. Bayley. Did he believe in Bayley? Seemed like he believed in Bayley way more than Triple H did, or Triple H does. She had more traction under Vince than Triple H. It seemed like Triple H just saw her as a steady hand, a mechanic, if you will, to put over everybody else. Under the guise of giving her her own faction, Damage Control. Damage Control was designed to ultimately get Io over on the main roster, which is no problem because she is a phenomenal talent. To bring back Dakota Kai, which was great because also she was integral behind the scenes. Maybe not in the ring because she was injury prone, but behind the scenes, morale wise, and plus close friends with Bayley and Io. And then to add Oscar to the group, and then later on Kairi Sane to the group, they had some longevity. And it was supposed to be Bayley's opportunity to not only be a leader behind the scenes, but be a leader on the screen. Also, being the fact she was coming back from that devastating knee injury, it did not put the onus on her to have banger after banger after banger in the ring. She could go in tag team action. She can really just step back and kind of guide and be on the mic, be a verbal sparring partner for whoever went against her clique. It had multiple facets that was available. But what did they do? They led up to WrestleMania 40. Bayley won the Royal Rumble. And the road to WrestleMania was littered with garbage. Garbage, I tell you. It was a foregone conclusion that, yes, she was going to be Io, but they didn't put any type of effort in it. She wasn't on the promotional posters. She didn't have any interviews. She hardly had any mic time. It's like that feud became an afterthought. And somebody would say, well, it was kind of hard to build up a feud with Bayley and someone who wouldn't say struggles to speak English, but maybe cannot, get across with the audience. But, well, guess what? Conveniently, in the next year or two, they found the way to get Io over with the fans. They found the way to get Io over with the same hindrance that other people would say that she had. Why was that not done for Bayley? You was able to get her over with mommy, with Mama Rhea Ripley, Daddy Triple H's baby girl, and I just don't understand. So does Bayley deserve better? Yes. Will she go to greener pastures? Will she go to AEW? Will she stay in WWE? Will she take some time off and just say, you know what, I'm going to reevaluate and maybe take some time off, just like Becky took time off and said, you know what, listen, my contract expired. I'm not going anywhere, but I need to take a break. I need to deal with some stuff at home, but I need to take a break because right now I'm stale. And trust me that I'm not going to do you wrong. Trust me that when I'm ready and when the opportunity is right, I will come back home. Maybe that's the path that Bayley ultimately takes. That she is going to take some time off and just get off the hamster wheel, so to speak, and make them appreciate her more in her absence. I don't know. Only time will tell. Now, next on the docket, Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley won the WWE Undisputed Women's Championship at WrestleMania against Jade Cargill. And she has been out for about a month and a half with a newly disclosed knee injury. We knew she was injured. We just didn't know exactly what. So on the Power Slap broadcast about a week or so ago, she disclosed in the interview that she has a meniscus tear and that she had been out about 5 weeks, and the recovery is going slow because it's in a very, very, very odd place, and that she doesn't know exactly how long she's going to be out, but she is still working toward coming back. Unfortunately, she will not be back by SummerSlam. So, what does WWE do? What does WWE do? I tell you what they did. They did something unprecedented in their entire history. Maybe, just maybe, I'm mistaken, but has WWE ever had an interim champion for any title? Think about it. Any title? I mean, how many people have gotten injured and got stripped of the title? And I know, listen, I'm not even going to talk about the 30-day rule because the 30-day rule hasn't been in effect in forever because they like to stretch things out. Liv Morgan won her championship at WrestleMania and has yet to defend said championship. And I'm not talking about house shows because house shows don't count. I'm talking about to the everyday fan, the person that spends money to watch Raw on Netflix, the person that wastes their Friday nights to watch Friday Night SmackDown, the people that watch Saturday Night Main Event, the people that waste their money and buy ESPN and watch their PLEs. When has she defended her championship? I'll tell you when. She hasn't. I mean, Stephanie Vaquer, the prior champion, only defended it a handful of times, but at least she defended it. But we'll get to Liv Morgan in a very few minutes. So, because Rhea Ripley, I guess they was holding out hope against hope that she was going to be able to muster up enough strength to defend the championship at SummerSlam, instead of stripping her of the title, they say, you know what, Rhea, take your time. Take your time. Relax. Recuperate. And keep the championship. And while you're recuperating and rehabilitating your knee, we are going to have a five-woman ladder match for the interim WWE Undisputed Women's Championship. So let me get this straight. Not only are you having an interim championship because for some reason she's different. She doesn't get stripped for her title. She can just sit home and recuperate and don't have to worry about having to climb herself back up the ladder. Not only are you going to let her keep her title, but the people that are fighting for this fraudulent title have to literally put their bodies on the line in a ladder match for a title that's in paper only, really. Because you're not the real champion. You're just a champion until the champion gets healthy enough to come back and reclaim her championship. Make this make sense. Not only that, what else do you do? What else do you do? I'll tell you what else you do. And I probably don't have it. So you have Jade Cargill gain a spot in said ladder match by defeating. Who did she defeat? Nia Jax? Yeah, by defeating Nia Jax via disqualification. And then you have the United States champion. Yes, I said it. The United States champion, women's champion, Tiffany Stratton, in the match. What's the point of having a secondary women's championship if you don't try to lend any prestige to the championship? Remember, there was a time, a very short time, that we had a unified championship for the men's, and pretty much they would go from show to show because they were unified, because they were together. And or how about this? Remember when Brock Lesnar was the Universal Champion, but he never showed up. He never defended his title. So what took the place of on the flagship show? What became the premier title in the absence of Brock Lesnar and, more importantly, the Universal Championship, the Intercontinental Championship? And who had the Intercontinental Championship? Seth Rollins. He became Monday Night Rollins, right? Why? Because he defended that championship. He made that championship worth its weight in gold. You know who else made that championship worth its weight in gold? Gunther. Why? Because he had the championship for almost 2 years. And he defended it on a regular basis. So therefore, when you beat Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, you were beating him for a pristine championship. Now, has it fell back down to the depths? Perhaps. So why could you not say, you know what? Okay, fine. Rhea, if you didn't want to strip her, fine. But to kind of take focus on the fact that Rhea Ripley is injured and the championship is not in play, elevate the United States Championship. But no, you actually have the United States champion fighting for an interim championship. So, like, I have this, but you know what? I want the fake championship because the United States Championship just isn't worth as much as the fake championship is. Make it make sense. But also, between Rhea Ripley being hurt and not defending her championship, we have Liv Morgan as the WWE Women's Champion on Raw. And you know what they did? You know what they did with Liv Morgan? Besides her not having her defend her championship? Remember there was a King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring tournament? Just a little while ago. And the winner of said tournament was going to receive a championship shot at SummerSlam. Remember that tournament? So with all these other people on the roster, now mind you, they had fatal four-ways in the first round to get more people, quote unquote, in the tournament. But who was one of the entries in the tournament? Liv Morgan. Why? Because in her mind, if I win the Queen of the Ring, that means I don't have to defend my championship. So she actually wrestled matches to make sure that she didn't have to defend her championship in an actual match. Once again, make it make sense. Make it make sense. Not only that, she beat multiple women to get to the finals of the Queen of the Ring to face this woman right here, IYO SKY. Because they had nothing left for IYO. They had nothing for IYO SKY to do. So she was in the Queen of the Ring. IYO SKY won. So IYO SKY beat the WWE Women's Champion in a non-title match because it was a tournament final match. But then to run it back at SummerSlam. And people want to know, and people are shocked that they can't sell a nosebleed of tickets for this year's two-night SummerSlam. Why? I've already seen them fight. Oh, because it's for the championship. Ooh. A championship that hasn't been defended in May, June, July, or 4 effing months. But I'm supposed to spend my hard-earned money to go and watch IYO SKY beat Liv Morgan again, but this time for the championship because she is the queen of the ring. Make it make sense. Guess what? You can't. Now, do you know I have a couple of people in mind that should have gotten that space? One, we have Raquel Rodriguez, part of the Judgment Day, part of the stable in which Liv Morgan is a part of. Now, you mean to tell me that there wasn't some type of booking mechanism that you can cause dissension in the ranks with Raquel Rodriguez winning the Queen of the Ring and Liv Morgan saying, you know what? I think you should go and challenge Rhea Ripley for that championship because guess what? She's vulnerable. And therefore, the Judgment Day can have all the championships. But no. They were trying to get her to win the Intercontinental Championship. Now, especially if you knew Rhea Ripley was not going to be ready for SummerSlam, that's an easy thing. She got beef. She got history with the Judgment Day. You send Raquel go over there, beat her up, and then you really force or at least put the injury on Raquel, like saying that she inflicted the injury. But no. That's too much like right. Oh, here's another one in which Roxanne Perez. Now, since Roxanne returned prior to WrestleMania, she returned right around the time that Finn Balor was getting kicked out of the Judgment Day. And because she is the member in which Finn Balor indoctrinated into the Judgment Day, and there was a flirtatious storyline between her and Dom when Liv was gone. You know, there's always been underlying tension between her and Liv Morgan. So what do you have Roxanne Perez do? Nothing. Every time she's floated out there as a henchman to soften up an opponent for Liv Morgan, she does nothing but lose. There was so much promise when she was called up to the main roster last year prior to WrestleMania. You would have thought that, matter of fact, it's 2 years ago. See, it seems like a long time because it has been. Remember, she had that great showing in the Elimination Chamber. She had that great showing at the Royal Rumble. But it's almost like, once again, they just they look at her as a mechanic. Someone who can give you a good match, but we're really not going to get behind. But yet she's a 2-time former NXT Women's Champion. She's a former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. And she can go. She can go better than a lot of the people on the roster. Listen, I am not going to cast any shade on other wrestlers, but there's a lot of wrestlers on the Raw roster, even the SmackDown roster more specifically, that she's better than. But are they giving her a shot? You mean to tell me she couldn't be Intercontinental Champion? You mean to tell me that she couldn't have had a match or two with AJ Lee? I'm not saying she had to beat AJ Lee, but she couldn't have a match or two with AJ Lee to heighten her profile? You couldn't have turned her face and gave her the same push that y'all gave Lyra? Now, is she a credible heel? Yes, but unfortunately, with her stature, yes, she can be a conniving heel, but her place is as a face with an edge, perhaps, but a face nevertheless. And but they're dragging this out. So, okay, at SummerSlam, is she going to cost Liv the championship against Io? Is Io going to win? And are we going to have Roxanne face Io? Or are we going to have Roxanne turn face and face Liv Morgan while Io goes someplace else? Who knows? You want to know why? I will tell you why once again. Because Vince Mother Effer doesn't know what he's doing. He's incompetent. Just like CM Punk said years ago. Your doofus son-in-law. And don't get me started on Punk, but this is a women's conversation. Now I'm going to go down a quick list of a handful of women in which they're doing nothing with. Nothing at all. First, Giulia. Yes, Giulia. The beautiful madness. The beautiful madness. You know what's beautiful madness? Why can't they book Giulia straight? She's a two-time United States champion. She's a former NXT women's champion. And you know what that means? Absolutely squat. Absolutely nothing. You want to know why? Because they threw everything against the wall. They've screwed Giulia up from the beginning. Okay, she came in with all this fanfare. Giulia came in with all this fanfare in NXT, right? You had her be the one to dethrone Roxanne Perez, to pretty much free Roxanne Perez to come up to the main roster, but unfortunately, Roxanne still stayed down there until Stand and Deliver. So what you did was really traumatic to Giulia. You brought her up and you had a debut at the same time you had Stephanie Vaquer debut. Now, it was probably a surprise of how over Stephanie got as opposed to Giulia. But this is what you're paid the big bucks for. You, my friend, should have known or should have had an inkling that, okay, Stephanie's moveset is going to have a certain charisma that Giulia is not able to access. So therefore, at worst case, they're going to be in equal setting. They're going to be opposing each other and trying to get over. You do not debut at the same time. And then on top of that, you rushed them both. Giulia had the NXT championship within a month of her debuting. Then you rushed Stephanie to become the North American champion. But did you let it marinate? No. You had them going a title versus title match in which Stephanie won. So, okay, that means logically you have one person, Stephanie, be the double champion, the champ, La Primera, champ, and then you spin Giulia to the main roster then. But what do? No, you turn Giulia heel and keep her down at NXT. And then you have La Primera say, you know what? I'll do a champ one time, and you know what? I'm good. And then you give, pretty much, you just vacate the North American championship. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Giulia challenged for that champ. What are you doing? Listen, even Black Bear over here is like, what are you doing? Bucky's like, man, I can't call it. And you want to know? So now she comes up cold. You know, flip the character all different ways. She's up here cold. And then you end up putting Kiana James with her to get Kiana James over, which you was on the road of doing at the expense of Giulia. Then you split them apart, and Kiana James are not doing a darn thing. What are y'all doing? Y'all are wasting people's careers. Are they getting paid? Hopefully they're getting the bag. But y'all are wasting people's careers through incompetence. Matter of fact, you know what? I wouldn't even say incompetence. To be blunt, I'm not even going to give them that out. You want to know why? Because the amount of experience that they have behind the scenes, there's no way you can tell me that these people don't know what they're doing. Maybe it's a lack of, I don't even know what it's a lack of. Maybe you want to say they're out of touch? Perhaps. Michael Hayes has been entrenched in the booking situation for decades, right? Bruce Pritchard has been entrenched for decades. Triple H, decades. Then you have all these agents back there. I want to know, why is Kenny Dykstra the agent? What does he do? Jason Jordan, I've heard good things about. Pete Dunne, it's not technically an agent, but heard the good things about. Davari, okay. So it's almost like, what, if you got a connection, you just get an agent job? Somebody has to be held accountable for raking in all this bread and ruining all these careers. Or even, matter of fact, I want to say ruining the careers, depreciating the assets that they have. This is a business. So if you have a business, if you have an asset that's worth let's say it's worth $3 million, and then due to your incompetence, now that $3 million asset is only worth less than $1 million, guess what? Head is going to roll, right? But no, it keeps on trucking. Next, Jade Cargill. At least, listen, at least she's got some gold. She got a run as the WWE Undisputed Women's Champion. Didn't defend it that much, but that wasn't her fault. But they just had to make sure they had to get it on, Brittle Bone Ripley, right? Right now, Jade Cargill is in line to face Charlotte Flair. Jade Cargill, at least, has a click. B-Fab and Michin. They're all getting each other over. Now, I'm actually happy that they're doing something substantive with Michin and B-Fab instead of, yes, are they quote unquote Jay's lackeys? Yes. but they are more than holding their own, especially B-Fab holding her own on the microphone, which is a strength. They're all keeping each other or raising each other. Now, if they really wanted to give them the final push behind them, I think B-Fab and Michin can be great assets, elevated assets to the division. Will they do so? Probably not. Next. I know you're probably wondering, who is this? Who is this guy? Who is this woman? I don't know. Oh, if you look closely enough, darn, she looks familiar. Oh, that's Jordynne Grace. Yeah, that's Jordynne Grace. I know you're probably like, oh, Jordynne Grace? Where's she been? Yeah, exactly. She's actually been on main event. She's been on main event the last couple months. A lot of people think she's still injured. No, she's not still injured. They just don't have no time for her. Why? That's the $1 million question. Does she have some backstage heat that I don't know about? Did she dare open her mouth and say, listen, I think you could use me better? I mean, you lured me from my independent wrestling. You lured me as the queen of TNA knockout wrestling with promises of grandeur here in the big time. I went to that NXT. I had banger after banger after banger. I didn't get a sniff of the championship. Not the NXT championship, not the North American championship, which, okay, fine, because, yeah, NXT was supposed to be a pit stop for me. So you brought me up to the main roster, and you immediately put me in the mix with Jade Cargill when Jade Cargill was beginning a championship run, meaning I was not going to get a championship run, but at least you would think that they would keep her in the upper tier. No. Oh, maybe she can fight for the United States Championship. Nah, that's not for you. She gets injured, and guess what? She is on main event. She is opening. She is doing dark matches, aka main event matches. She's healthy. I mean, she had a good match against Ivory Down a couple weeks ago. She had a couple matches against Kiana James a couple weeks ago. Yeah, but if you want to see Jordynne Grace, you have to tune into YouTube to watch WWE main event. Not Saturday night's main event. No. Main event, aka where the J.O. Beers reside. Next, Fatal Attraction. Fatal Influence. My bad. Fatal Influence. JC Jane, Fallon Henley, Laney Reed. They came upon the scene with uber heat. Some people would say it was only because of based on who they was going against, which might have been true. But the fact that they were posed as threats against Charlotte, against Alexa, against everyone, against Rhea Ripley, against IYO. The fact that they were posed as threats allowed them to get that heat. The fact that people couldn't understand to this day why JC Jane is in the position that she's in garnered that heat. And then guess what? Because that lofty goal was not for them, that they actually overachieved because there was no space for them. That's not for you, Daddy. That's not for you. No, that's not for you, baby. That's not for you, baby. Baby, that's not for you. They cooled them down. There was no reason why. Two things. There's no reason why Fatal Influence, it took them 3 months to win the tag team championships when you had them on a lame duck team of Brie Bella and Paige. Yes, Brie Bella and Paige. Yeah, that's who we was protecting. Yeah, that's great. Number one. Number two. You mean to tell me that JC Jane could not have been inserted into the interim ladder match at SummerSlam? I'm asking a question. And if not, why not? Why not? I'm not saying she had to win. I'm just saying that just perhaps her being in that position would actually raise her profile. But what do? I'll tell you what they do. They said, baby, that's not for you. That's not for you, baby. You know, if you really, really want to get over, what you need to do is actually lose. And not only lose, but lose frequently. And not only lose frequently in front of as many people as possible. And then once you cool down, then we will give you what we want to give you so you could feel like you deserved it. We want to make sure that you don't get too big ahead. That's how we keep people in line. That's how we let them know that we are the ones that run the show. Ain't that right, Chelsea? Chelsea Green, at one point, was probably one of the hottest, if not the hottest woman on the main roster. With the crowd response, not only on the main roster, but on a different brand, AAA. Her mixed tag team with Ethan Page as the Canadians, as the North American champions, the greatest champions in all of North America, was a smash hit. But what did they do with that? Did they transition that over? No. Did they run with her? No. And what? Because it was revealed on Unreal that, guess what? She's not supposed to be at the level. She's at the level that she's supposed to be at. Chelsea Green is perfect at what she does. There's no upward mobility for Chelsea Green. Why is that? Don't know. It's just the fact that the powers that be says it like that. That's how it is. It's like that. And that's the way it is. Huh! Lastly, Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe joined WWE last year, coming off a great 2-year stint under the name Mariah May in AEW. One of the best storylines of all time when it comes to women, between her and timeless Toni Storm. And everybody thought that she was going to take NXT and WWE over by storm. Has that been the case? Nope. She came into NXT. They changed the name. They gave her a different gimmick. Well, same gimmick, but just tweaked it a little bit. She got the North American Championship. She lost it via fluke to Thea Hale. And everybody thought she was going to immediately gain it back. And nope, she never did. She never did. She had a match. She had a rivalry with Jade Parker, who is another person I want to know why she's still down in NXT, but we'll talk about that at a later date. And then they brought her up not once, but twice to the main roster. One, they brought her up, said they're debuting her. And then when she debuted, she re-debuted about 3 weeks later. And now she's just beating people up, both heel and face, backstage. Do they have anything for Blake Monroe? I don't think so. Would this be a good time to maybe insert her into a qualifying match for a spot for the ladder match for the interim undisputed women's championship? No. And, matter of fact, it just came to my mind. Why are we having a ladder match at SummerSlam so close to Money in the Bank? Same concept. One is for the championship. A month and a half later, one is for a briefcase in which you can claim your championship match. Once again, Mr. Paul C.S. Levesque. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Well, people, that brings us to the end of another edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making me and this here podcast the one y'all choose to view and the one y'all choose to listen to. Next week, will I be back? Y'all know the answer to that question, especially summertime. I don't know. Listen, I got things I got to do next weekend. I got to go places. I got to spend time with the family. And listen, I might pop up next Sunday night, late Sunday night, early Monday morning. I might not pop up next late Sunday night, early Monday morning. But the only way you will be able to find out is if you press that notification button, you press that like button, you press that subscribe button. So you will be the first ones to hear it. Yes, please. Once again, I appreciate y'all daily. What I really would appreciate y'all to do is check out Gimmick Infringement, Winchester McDowell, on the 19 Media Group YouTube channel and all streaming platforms wherever podcasts are available. Why? Because I asked you to, and also because yours truly is on the episode. Here's a sneak peek. Man, not a sneak peek, but here's a peek.
To say New York a bunch of times so the crowd cheers, and then have Seth come out to, I guess, be a heel. I felt like I accidentally pressed a button and I got a rerun. Like it was just like it's Seth attacking Roman from behind while Roman's talking in the ring, while he's been okie doked by the entrance music, and it's just like play number 92, and they're just running play 92 a bunch of times. It felt lazy. It felt gross. It made me mad on behalf of the talent involved, like actually angry, because I'm like, you're wasting their time right now. I don't know if they feel that way because they're getting paid and they are getting a ton of exposure with those celebrities. They will be paired with pretty much forever now. So I have a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts, very strong ones. I mean, shout out to the champion New York Knicks. But God dang. That's it. Okay, as far as that goes, I'm sure you have thoughts, but I got thoughts too, and we're going to move on. Let's get into it. I know Mike's got thoughts too. Let's get into it. Play the music. It's time for someday when you have kids.
Listen, I ain't gonna lie. Brad was on one. He had to get his rant off, which you can hear in full on this week's edition of Gimmick Infringement. We talked about the Bayley situation, AEW, Redemption pay-per-view coming up, Willow Nightingale, Maya World, Heckler, amongst others. We have a movie review of The Odyssey. We have a super duper segment of One Day When You Have Children, One Day When You Have Kids, directed double barrel approach at Tyler McDowell. And we talked about the Jay-Z celebration or lack thereof. Well, in my case, lack thereof. A whole smorgasbord of information and entertainment at your disposal this week on this week's edition of Gimmick Infringement. And you know, if you do not watch and choose to watch Gimmick Infringement, Tekla has a couple words for you.
If there is one thing I can't stand, it's not one, but two dumb bitches.
Yeah. I mean, listen, she said it. She said it, so I didn't have to. Mwah. Before I go, because I did break the news. On Gimmick Infringement. So I guess I would be remiss if I didn't break the news here on the mothership, the flagship, if you will. Next month, actually, in about 3 weeks' time, yours truly, Mike Steph, will be dropping a musical project August 5th under the title. The title of the project is Glenda's Baby Boy. Yes. I won't say it's an EP. I won't say it's a long play. I don't know yet. I know I have 11 tracks, and I don't know if I'm going to give out all 11 tracks at one time, or I'm going to piecemeal it and make you, and just drop them like crumbs and make you take one after another, after another, after another, until I decide you're full. Or if I put out the crumb and you don't get it, guess what? No more crumb for you. But regardless, it's going to come out. My plan is to drop it on Bandcamp. It will be absolutely positively free. If I decide to drop it on Patreon also, then you can give me my human monies on Patreon. But regardless, to be serious, if I can be serious for a minute, Glenda's Baby Boy musical project, August 5th. The thought behind the title, who's Glenda's baby boy? This guy right here. My mother's name was Glenda. This September will be 20 years that I lost my mother in the physical. And I started the project out as one thing, and quickly, as time went by, especially around the time of her birthday this past May, she'd been on my mind constantly, even more than usual. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do a project dedicated to her. So that's number one. And so I'm Glenda's baby boy. Because my mother had one boy, one girl. So Sister Ooh, that's the girl, and me, I'm the boy. I'm the baby boy. Number two, probably want to know why August 5th. Well, August 5th is your boy's birthday. But it's not just a birthday. It's a milestone birthday. I will be a half a century on August 5th, which is crazy. I can't say, or 5 decades old, or half a cent. But the big 5-0. So because I'm turning the big 5-0, because this will be the 20th year that I'm not able to spend with my mother, because I'm turning the big 5-0 without being able to celebrate my mother, and my oldest son, Nakai, who will be 31 9 days before me, before my birthday. I said, you know what? For a project of this magnitude for yours truly, I'm going to drop it on our 50th birthday. Every time my daughter sees me record, or she starts seeing me record lately, she's like, Dad, I thought you were retired. I'm like, I am. Just call me the Brock Lesnar of rap. There's so many ways you can take that. Am I the rapper that just beats all the other black rappers? I don't know. Well, Brock Lesnar retired, but yet he's still wrestling. So why can't I still rap and be retired? Doesn't mean I'm unretired, right? I mean, I'm just going by WWE booking for my real life. Well, at least my musical life. But anyway, right now I have a freestyle out on SoundCloud. I will probably get copyrighted because Jim Jones is a little, but regardless, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to give you no lyrics. No, I'm not going to give you no lyrics. But I do pop my ish at the end. Take a listen. Waiting for response? Nah, man. I took my ish and keep it pushing. But just like Cody Rhodes, I'm easy to find, but I'm hard to beat. Goodbye. Yeah. So, with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. And I guess I'm glad I put that at the end, because if they do give me a chance and say, oh, I got flagged, then guess what? I could just cut it out and you won't know not a darn thing. But if you hear me, that means they didn't cut it out. So, how about that? So, with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I will check y'all later. Peace and blessings. 2, 2. We'll be out of here in 2 and 2. Gotcha. Goodbye.